The vicious cycle of self-improvement begins a little bit like this. You get this surge of motivation to completely change your life. You start reading the self-help books. You start watching the self-improvement videos, listening to podcasts. You get all this motivation to make a change. You start to make a change. You start going to the gym. You start listening to the podcast. You maybe start a business. You start taking the risks. You take a step outside of your comfort zone. Along the way, you then fall off. And then you go through this cycle where you start going back in, you get the motivation to go again, and then you drop off. And then you get the motivation to go again, and then you drop off again. And then you come to realize that how much you actually have to improve. You feel like absolute shit about yourself, and then you fall off. And that vicious cycle just continues. And in this video, I'm gonna break down exactly how I got stuck in that cycle and how I broke out and used self-improvement to benefit my life instead of it taking away from my life. My self-development journey started around 7 years ago, and it didn't start in the traditional way that most people start their self-improvement journey. I didn't get into self-improvement from reading self-help books, reading self-development. The way that I got into it was through the gym. I didn't like the way that looked. I was fat, I was ugly, I wasn't confident with myself. I thought by going to the gym, I would just improve on my appearance, and that would help with my confidence. That would help with my insecurities that I had at the time. And for 2 years, that worked really, really well. But there is a cap of that. I realized after 2 years, I still had problems with my confidence. I still had problems with insecurities, even though I was in shape. I had a mindset problem, not a physical problem. And that's when I really got into my self-development. I was watching a lot of self-development videos. I found the Chris Williamson Modern Wisdom podcast, listening to Alex Hormozy, listening to David Goggins, and I really got sucked into that environment. And at the time, this is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me, working on my mindset, being able to be disciplined, how to become disciplined, how to work hard. That really drilled that inside of me. But I do have a all or nothing personality, a very addictive personality. And if you're the same, then you really get involved in this stuff and you really get focused. Like if there's something for me that I'm really enjoying and I get really excited about, I completely lock into that and that becomes like really focused and I get really good at it. But that became a massive issue for me. I started a business. I got myself full-time with an online business. I worked really, really hard to then do that. But the problem came for me is there was always more. I always wanted to do more. There was constantly more to improve. There was never any sort of satisfaction with what I've done. No matter what I did, I went from not being able to speak to someone, like I couldn't hold a conversation with someone for a minute, posting on social media, 10K followers, having my own online business. But I was never happy. I was never satisfied. It was always more. And I was spending less time with socializing with my family. I spent less time socializing with other people. And it was all just focused on improvement. And it just completely sucked the fucking life out of me. I didn't have a personality anymore. I didn't have any opinions. I was just so focused on improving. And it was just all my focus was going into improving and being a better person. And it made me feel like absolute shit. It made me feel like I was not a good person because I needed to improve more. And that is the trap that you can get caught in with self-development, is this strive for perfection. And the more that I was watching self-improvement videos, podcasts, I would get addicted to that. And I'd be listening to more and more people. And I'd watch a video, I'd just move on to the next one. Oh, that's a good one. I'll watch that and watch that and watch that. And when you get addicted to consuming content, consuming all of this stuff, you stop actually taking action on any of it. You just become, it's like a mental fucking masturbation. You watch all of this stuff, but never actually take any action off the back of it. So you've watched a video and you go, what the fuck have I even learned from that? And you never actually take any action off the back of it. And you could talk about all of these things that you're going to do. You can tell people you're going to do this, you can tell people you're going to do that. But if you don't actually do fucking anything about it, then there's no point in even talking about it. People get this dopamine kind of rush when they talk about what they're going to do. And that links with actually doing it, but they don't actually do anything about it. You could literally say, I'm going to set up a business, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then 6 months later, you ask them and goes, did you do that? And goes, no, I fucking didn't. You never actually take any fucking action off the back of it. So I used to be the guy that would take in all of this information. I would watch all of these videos. I'd always want to improve, but nothing would change. 6 months later, nothing would change because I haven't actually implemented and taken the action off the back of it. So these were the 3 ways that made it a lot easier for me to do that. When you do start your self-development journey, it can be very lonely, especially if you haven't got people around you that are on a similar journey, and you might have to separate yourself from your environment. Whether it's your family that are different to you, whether it's your friends that are different to you, it can be very, very lonely, and you can isolate yourself a lot. And that means that you are thinking a lot, and there's a lot going on inside of your brain. And if you're not getting that out anywhere, then you're just constantly stuck in your thoughts and you're constantly stuck in your own head. This is what happened to me. So the way that I got over that was by journaling, whether it was written journaling or verbal journaling. You might think that sounds a little bit fucking weird. I do sometimes write down everything that's going on in my head. Every single morning, every single evening, I'll just write down what's going on in my head, and then I can start problem solving and just getting a bit more clarity and getting everything just out there. But with posting on social media, talking to a camera for the last 3 to 4 years, I am very, very good at verbalizing what's going on inside my head. That does mean that I do come across as a bit schizophrenic. So if I'm out on a walk in the morning, I will just talk to myself and I would go through what is going on in my head, what I'm going to do, what I'm planning on doing, and just kind of rationalizing and being very logical instead of emotional around what I'm doing. And I find that really, really works for me. It does help that I do this at 5 a.m. and there's no one about watching me do this, but it does look pretty weird, but it works really, really well. Just getting everything out on paper or everything out into the world so you can kind of get it out there and then just pick the direction that you want to take it and make it seem a lot more clear. And once you've done that, you want to move on to step 2. And that is going to be taking the information that you're taking in and actually using it. It's very, very easy to sit there in one afternoon and watch 3, 4 self-improvement videos, get stuck in just looking at it and and you get to the end of the video and you move on to the next one. And then you've sat there for 2 to 3 hours and then you ask yourself, what have I actually learned from that? And you've realized you haven't actually taken any of it in. So the one way that I did this is you want to pick one book that you read. You don't want to go through 4 or 5 at a time and get all these different ideas coming into your brain. Pick one self-help book that you're going to read or self-development book that you read. If you read for 30 to 60 minutes every single day, what you want to do is right after you've read it, you want to just sit there and think about it. You can verbalize it, you can write it down, you can talk through what you've learned and how you're going to apply it to your life and how you're going to implement that. And within that first hour, 2 hours, you've taken action on what you've just read. And do the exact same. I'll watch one self-development or self-improvement of what I want to improve on that week. I will then take action throughout the entire week. I wouldn't watch another self-development video. I would literally just take that one video and I would go, what have I learned from this video? What am I going to implement from this video? And that week I will implement from that. And I'm not allowed to watch another self-development video. I'm not allowed to go on to another self-help book until I've done that. And then you can start implementing things nice and slowly and implement it into your life. Finally, you want to change the way you think about self-improvement. And that comes from your habitual vocabulary. You want to change the words that you use on a daily basis to then change your state. Because at the end of the day, the state that you're in 75 to 80% of the time is going to determine your life. And if you're in a positive state a lot of the time, no matter what is going on around you, you're going to have a much better quality of life as a person that's constantly using negative words and disempowering words to themselves to make them feel shit about themselves, essentially. And the way you do that is take the words that you use now, these disempowering words that you use all of the time, whether it's, for me, it was, I feel lost, I feel overwhelmed, I feel frustrated, and you eradicate them, you get them fucked out of your vocabulary, you go, I don't use them words anymore, and instead of using them words, you want to use more empowering words. So instead of saying, I'm lost, just saying, I'm searching for something, I'm searching for something, and I'm gonna find the answer. Instead of thinking, oh, I'm really frustrated right now, the things not working out for me, just think, I'm a driven person that wants to succeed, and I'm just being a little bit impatient right now. It is gonna come, I'm just being a little bit impatient. It's the exact same with feeling overwhelmed. I would do it all the time. I feel so overwhelmed, I feel so overwhelmed. It's not overwhelmed, don't call it overwhelmed. Just say you're feeling a little bit imbalanced. It takes the complete emotion away from it, a little bit imbalanced. Okay, what's causing that imbalance? Okay, I need to do that a little bit less. There you go. You've got clarity, direction going forward. And I've taken that from a self-help book, funnily enough, a self-development book, amazing book by Tony Robbins. I would massively recommend going and reading this book, Awaken the Giant Within. I've taken that straight from his book and implemented that straight into my life. And finally, what you need to do is focus on your strengths. You don't want to be constantly focused on why your life is shit and why you are shit as a person. Focusing on your flaws, focusing on your imperfections all the time, and never looking into what you are good at and just focusing on that and then making small improvements week on week. I would do the exact same. I would look at myself and go, oh, I haven't got this perfect personality, this charisma. Oh, I'm not creative. I'm not this. I'm not that. And then I looked at it and goes, I am an interesting person. Like I am. If I tell myself I'm an interesting person, I know I'm an interesting person. I'm just focusing on what I haven't got as opposed to what I do have. I know that I am a creative person. I know that I am a funny person. I'm a helpful person. I'm a kind person. People do want to listen to what I have to say. And I focus a lot more on that. And then little small things that I know I need to improve on, I can make small improvements week on week and like add that little 1% each and every time. And this is something that takes a little bit of time. And it is something that I also do work with my one-to-one online coaching clients. For me, it isn't just about diet training. Mindset is a massive part of this. And this is something that we deep dive a lot with the guys inside of the GGB coaching circle. So if you do think that you need a little bit more help with the mindset, you know what you need to do with your training and your diet. And it's like the mindset of improving in all areas of your life that you are more interested in learning a little bit more, then click the link in the description. I'll leave a link to my one-to-one coaching. But you do want self-improvement to enhance your life, not take away. I love self-improvement. I love the idea of improving step by step, week on week, week on week. But I'm not a massive fan of people getting stuck in the self-improvement thing and not having a life outside of being the self-improvement. And you become a boring motherfucker that can't go out and do anything, that separates himself from society and thinks that they're better than everyone else. And yes, self-improvement's important, but you want it to be able to enhance your life instead of just completely take away from your life. If you found this video useful, then please click like, please click subscribe. I would really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one, my friend. Have a good one.